Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today we're doing a wind-up deck profile. So I'm really excited you guys because this deck is an amazing deck that can summon out all sorts of crazy powerful monsters by using your wind-up Magician, Shark, and Rat, which are crazy powerful combo pieces for this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name searched for a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to our Patreon, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Wind Up Magician. This card is a great card for this deck because it has the ability that if the effect of a wind up monster is activated, then except another copy of itself, then you can special summon out a level 4 or lower wind up monster from the deck in face up defense position. And the effect of this card can only be used once while it's face up on the field. But if you remove it from the field and bring it back, you can use its effect all over again. We then play 3 copies of Wind Up Shark. This card is really good because it actually makes your copy of Magician go off, because it has the ability that when a wind up monster is normal or special summoned to your side of the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then once per turn, you can activate one of the effects to either increase or decrease this card's level until the end phase, which is a pretty good effect to help you go into some XZ plays. We then play 3 copies of Wind Up Rat. This card is really good because this card has the ability that during the main phase, you can target one wind up monster in the graveyard, change this face-up attack position card you control to face-up defense, and then special summon that target from the graveyard in defense position, and you can only use the effect of this card once while it's face-up on the field. But that's a really good effect to basically give you a monster reborn by just changing this card's battle position. We then play a single copy of Wind Up Kitten. Wind Up Kitten is really good because it has the ability that you can target a monster your opponent controls and return to the hand, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just give you a bounce. 1 copy of Wind Up Hunter, because you can use Wind Up Hunter to actually get a bunch of cards out of your opponent's hand, because it has the ability that you can tribute a face-up Wind Up monster except a Wind Up Hunter to send a random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. And this effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field, but you can use it again and again if you can resummon it over and over again, which is a really easy thing to do, especially with your copy of your Wind Up Rat. We then play a single copy of Wind Up Bat. I feel like 1 copy of Wind Up Bat helps out a lot in this deck because it has the ability that you can target a wind up monster in the graveyard, change this face up attack position card you control to defense position, and if you add that target back to your hand, being able to get cards back like your copy of Shark back from the graveyard to add back to your hand to then special summon again when you summon another wind up monster is really good. We then play 3 copies of Rescue Cat. Rescue Cat helps out in the deck because this card lets you send it to the graveyard to special summon out 2 level 3 or lower beast monsters, which is going to be your copies of your Wind Up Rat, which is going to be a really important thing for the deck to be able to do, just immediately summon those cards to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk is really good as well because it helps you get to your copy of Wind Up Magician extremely easily in this deck, and also gives you an additional monster on the field. We then play a single copy of Destiny Hero Celestial and a single copy of Dasher, so we can go to our copy of Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, because with your copy of Wind Up Magician, Shark, and Rat, you can basically loop out multiple monsters on the field to help you link climb into some really crazy plays. We then play a single copy of Artifact Scythe, because you can use the copy of Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer to pop your copy of Scythe to then basically lock your opponent out of summoning from the extra deck during their turn, which is really good for this deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Upstart Goblin. This card is basically going to make it so we're playing a 39 card deck, so we don't have to have that extra card. It gives us a draw card, but it also gives our opponent 1,000 life points, but it's a really good card to help us with our consistency. We play a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is here because we can send the exact card that we need to the graveyard when we need it for our copy of Rat to bring it back. We play a single copy of Pot of Avarice, so if we do loop through too many of our wind-up cards, we can actually put them back in the deck and then draw 2 cards. A single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good because it lets us stop our opponent from hand trapping us. 1 copy of Monster Reborn just to extend our plays. This card is really good to bring back cards from the graveyard like your copy of Wind Up Rat to then be able to shift it to defense position to be able to go in for more plays. We play 2 copies of World Legacy Succession because we do link climb in this deck, and this card comes in very handy to bring back our copies of our wind ups to a link zone, which is really good for this build. Play 2 copies of Zen Malfunction. Zen Malfunction is an additional monster reborn and a really interesting in-archetype card because it lets us target a wind-up monster in the graveyard and special summon it in face-up defense version. Its effects are negated and it cannot be used for a synchro summon, but it's really good to be able to bring back cards from the graveyard to help you go into additional XZ plays or just go in for additional plays into Link monsters. So this card is a definite good 2-of in the deck because with this card, you're basically playing like 5 monster reborns in the form of the Zen Malfunction, the copy of World Legacy Succession, and the copy of Monster Reborn, along with the copies of your Wind Up Rat, which is 3 additional Monster Reborns, putting you at about 8 Monster Reborns in this deck. We then play 2 copies of Wind Up Factory. Wind Up Factory is the searcher for the deck that has the ability that you get to once per turn. If an effect of a Wind Up monster is activated, then you can add a level 4 or lower Wind Up monster from your deck to your hand. I only play 2 copies of this because I only feel like you need 2 copies of this. It is where you can activate, like if you get 2 of these in your hand, you can use both of them, which is pretty good. And it's a really good card in the deck, but I really don't feel like I need a 3rd copy. We then play 2 copies of Fusion Destiny. Fusion Destiny is here so we can go into our copy of Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. It's a really great boss monster for this deck to be able to summon out while you're going through your plays. And it's very easy to just end your combo with a copy of Fusion Destiny to just summon out that insanely powerful card, or make a copy of Anaconda to then summon it from the extra deck really easily. We then play 3 copies of Double Summon. This deck really needs to be able to summon twice to your side of the field, so Double Summon helps you out a lot with that to be able to normal summon an additional time. If you do draw into this card with Summoner Monk, you're totally fine because you can just normal summon out the Summoner Monk, change it to defense, and then use the copy of Double Summon to be able to discard to summon Magician from the deck, which is going to get your plays really rolling to give you that additional monster on your side of the field. So the Double Summon comes in very handy to give you that additional summon. For example, also if you have a copy of Wind Up Rat in the hand, well, you already have a copy of a Wind Up in the graveyard and you want to summon out your Magician, you can actually end with 4 monsters where you normal summon out the copy of Magician, normal summon out the copy of Rat with Double Summon, switch it to defense position, the copy of Magician will go off, and the copy of Rat will go off, special summoning a Wind Up from the hand or the graveyard and from the deck, which is really good to give you all 4 monsters that you need on your side of the field to go for some really insane plays. Since we're going for all these combos, you do play 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More as well. This card is really good just in case you go second to be able to just basically activate this card and stop your opponent's monster effects on the field. It's really helpful, especially when we're trying to establish an insane board to be able to stop the opponent and go in for a game. But this card makes it so the opponent doesn't take any damage for the rest of the turn, but that's totally fine because we're basically just using that turn as setup. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Wind Up Zen Maintenance. This card is a really good card, but you really only need a single copy of this card. It has the ability that it takes 2 Wind Up monsters to summon this card, and if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target a Wind Up XZ that you control and attach this card as a material, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. That if this card is link summoned, you can add a Wind Up card from your deck to your hand, or you can banish 1 face-up Wind Up monster you control face down to special summon a Wind Up monster with the same name as it had on the field from the deck, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just basically tag out into another monster. We then play a single copy of Access Code because it gives us additional pops. You could change this out for a Boral Sword if you're looking for a little bit more budget of an option, because the deck can easily make Boral Sword with all of the copies of the cards that we play in the deck to be able to loop out a bunch of monsters to our side of the field. But this card's really good because you play so many different attributes and it's so easy to use this card to pop multiple cards on the field. Play a single copy of Appaloosa because it gives us additional monster negates, and it's really easy to put monsters on the field that have different names. So this card is very easy to summon in the deck. Play a single copy of Soryuja Skulldread. Soryuja Skulldread is really good for its 4 effect and 3 effect in this deck, because if you use 4 monsters with different names to summon this card, you get to draw 4 and then place 3 back on the bottom of the deck. Being able to draw out copies like a copy of World Legacy Succession, Monster Reborn, or even Zen Malfunction to get us additional monsters out of the graveyard onto our field so we can keep comboing. Really good card. Also, the 3 effect is that you get to once per turn special summon a monster from your hand to be able to further extend your plays. We then play a single copy of Unicorn to spin stuff. This card is really good to be able to go into during our opponent's turn with an IP Masquerena. Selene is really good because you do play so many spells in this deck, and it's really easy to bring back Magician from the graveyard with this card's effect to be able to climb into a copy of Access Code Talker or a copy of Appaloosa if you do so need to. 1 copy of IP Masquerena because IP lets us go into a copy of Unicorn during the opponent's turn, which is really, really good. One copy of Artifact Dagda, which will actually put on our side of the field the copy of Scythe to be able to then pop with Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, which is a really good play for this deck. One copy of Verte Anaconda, because you can pay 2,000 life points, send Fusion Destiny from the deck to the graveyard, and then immediately summon Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer to then use the effect of Scythe, or the effect of Dagda to be able to set Scythe on your side of the field, and then pop it with Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer during your opponent's turn, special summon the Scythe, and then lock your opponent out of the extra deck, which is really insane. We then play a single copy of Alamirage, just in case we need to get one of our wind-up monsters in the graveyard that has less than 1,000 attack points that we normal summon. This card comes in very, very handy in the deck. One copy of Daigusto Emerald, because Daigusto Emerald can shuffle 3 monsters from the graveyard into the deck and then let us draw a card, which is really good to be able to get some of our wind-ups back into the deck. Play a single copy of Bahamut Shark, because wind-up Shark is in this deck and it's a water monster, so you can make this card to then make Totally Awesome, which is pretty good and pretty awesome to be able to just give us a negate to protect our plays. One copy of Double A Zeus to board wipe just in case we need to, and a single copy of Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, because this card is absolutely insane in this deck and super easy to summon and a really good boss monster the deck needs. So that's pretty much it for the deck, guys. It's a really fun deck to play with. I highly recommend if you've never played with wind-ups, you definitely should. It's a super fun deck and really, really combo based between those 3 monsters, between your wind-up Magician, Shark, and your Rat. It's a really fun deck, and I highly recommend you guys try it out. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.